Welcome, everyone, to the TV show Together We Serve, and all about serving, giving, and helping. And this is going to be a TV show that you're going to want to listen to because you want to grow your business through philanthropic opportunities. I can't say that very well. My guest will be able to say it because he said it many times. But imagine building a charity and growing your business. Kind of doesn't get talked about a lot, but I want to welcome to the show, Randy Molland. Randy, welcome.
Steve, thank you so much for having me here, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is great. You doing something that is yeoman's work, but you're also helping people grow and make money and abundance and current, all that. Talk about philanthropic and why you got started with that.
Yeah, it's a bit of an intro story that I'll just get your audience accustomed to. Is I was 25 years old. I just bought my first house, and I had a mentor take me under his wing and say, Randy, in 25 years, when you pay this house off, life's going to be so great and amazing for you. You're going to be financially free and live the dream, right? Everyone's heard that before. And unfortunately, 2 weeks after he said that to me, he passed away in a job site accident. I was an electrician by trade. And I watched my best friend die at 42 years old, who is the same guy that just told me how great life was going to be when I was 50. So I said, well, that doesn't really add up to me. I want to go do something bigger. So I, as any millennial would do, Googled how to make a ton of money and never work again. And I got infatuated with this idea of building this lifestyle of freedom and wealth and self-development. And I started grinding as hard as I could to retire by the time I was 30. And by the time I was 28, I did such a good job of grinding that I worked myself into a non-epileptic seizure. And so at 28, I had a second realization of, holy smokes, this grinding and hustling and trying to retire at 30 wasn't going to work. And I clearly got the message that retiring at 50 wasn't my plan. So what is my plan? So I asked God, I said, what is it? And he said, the next quote that I had heard right after I said that was, if you want to make $1 million a year, build a business that does 2 million, give $1 million away, and you'll be the happiest millionaire on the planet. And that changed my philosophy forever. That's when I realized that I wanted to start chasing impact and becoming a 7-figure giver. And if I did that, I'd become the happiest person that I wanted to be. At the same time, I'd be blessed financially because if I'm donating $1 million, then I got to be doing pretty good there. So that's what got me started into this whole world. And I'm happy to go deep into my story. But that was the triggering point for me, was watching the old school retirement life of waiting till you're 50 to retire, trying to retire at 30, and then finding this happy ground of money isn't what I wanted to chase anymore, financial freedom isn't what I wanted to chase, but impact is what I wanted to chase, because that had the ability to make me the happiest in my life.
I love that. And 2 million and give away 1 million. That's a bold statement, but it changes lives, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it does. And it changed me as a human. As soon as I understood that concept and principle, that's why I share it everywhere I go, because I'm hoping somebody else will hear that and have the exact same takeaway that I did of like, that's so simple, that's so easy. I'm trying to become a 7-figure earner. I'm trying to make $1 million, but I'm doing it the wrong ways. I should be focusing on becoming a 7-figure giver, and that'll make me a lot happier than becoming a 7-figure earner.
Well, that's interesting. I want to share this picture I found that's pretty powerful, and it kind of starts. So tell us a story about this, how this came about, and what it's all about.
Yeah, that's a photo from back in the day. So the next part of my story was I took that concept, and I, at the time, was running a free real estate meetup. I was a real estate investor. And as I was running this meetup, we had about 30 or 40 people on a monthly basis show up to it. And one of the things I said was, well, if I want to start becoming a giver, I got to, add donations to everything that I do. So we said, what if we charge $10 at the door and we gave 100% of that money away? And all of a sudden, what we found was that more and more people started joining our meetup because they wanted to be a part of our impact. And in this photo here, there's an organization called Kids Sport Greater Victoria that we supported. And for every $300, you could put one kid through organized sport. And so we started realizing that, if we had more people join our meetup, we'd be able to give more money away. So the bigger we go, the more we can give. We need to go big to give big. That's how Go Big to Give Big was founded. And as we scaled, we grew to over 120 people on a monthly basis, so donating over $1,200 a month. And then we used that to leverage into bigger opportunities in our lives and write bigger checks and do more good. And that's a photo of us writing a check to Kidsport Greater Victoria, which helped over 400 kids get into organized sport in our area.
Well, I gotta say that kind of made you pretty happy, didn't it?
It made me some of the happiest moments of my life.
And it's 12,200. It's not a lot of money. It's a good chunk of money, but it's like you mentioned before with kid sport, right?
There's some good principles here, Steve. Some of the stuff that I've learned along the way are that, the law of reciprocity says that once you give, you will get. It doesn't care how much you give, it cares that you give. And that's one of the things that I realized is that, we weren't writing huge checks. Our checks every single month were like, somewhere between like $1,000 and $1,200, right? But what we started to realize was the impact it had. It inspired us to grow our business bigger. It made us feel like a different human when you started donating. There's so many statistics around when you donate, it has a big dopamine rush on you, and it gets rid of a lot of your depression and things like that. So we were donating this stuff. But what it did is we cultivated a community around it. And people want to be around people that are making bigger impact. There's statistics out there that say 89% of consumers want to buy from or work with companies that have impact initiatives attached to them. So as we started adding this in, nobody cared about the dollar figures we were writing. They cared about how many kids we were helping. And if I said to you, Steve, I'm going to donate $300 and make a big impact, you'd be like, I don't really see it. But if I say to you, hey, Steve, I'm going to support one kid to go through organized sport and it's going to change that kid's life and have a massive impact on who he's going to become as a human, you're like, absolutely. And so when we start taking the dollar figures away and start talking about the impact we made, that's the biggest thing that we were able to do was we helped so many kids get through organized sport that we were able to make a massive impact in the future of the humans that we're bringing up in this world.
And I love that because I have my podcast Doing Business with the Server's Heart, which you've been a guest, and this is Together We Serve. So you're telling me a company can serve philanthropically and grow their business?
It's absolutely crazy. I watched that again. I took my meetup from 30 people to 120 people as soon as we started adding impact. I couldn't get it past 30 people before we started donating. And the reason why is because I stood at the front of the room and I said, hey guys, because you showed up today, we were able to put one kid through organized sport this month when there was 30 people there. And I said, but that's not who we are, what we want to do. We want to help as many kids as we can. So next month, we want to help 2 kids go through sport, which means we need 60 people in this room. So who do you know that you can bring? And they were bringing their friends that weren't even into real estate to just be a part of our mission to serve and grow. And then we did the same thing inside of our real estate portfolio. We started donating $10 per door per month from our real estate portfolio. And in a time where we were having a hard time raising capital for our projects, we then went on to go raise $12 billion in 13 months from our real estate ventures as soon as we started talking about our impact. Because I wouldn't go to people and say, hey, do you want to invest in our project? I would say, hey, do you want to go put a bunch of kids through sports? Well, that's what we're doing with our real estate portfolio. And we want you to invest in it so that we can go help more kids get access to sports. And all of a sudden, people were more intrigued and more excited and got us in different doors and brought different people together. So by adding philanthropy into our business, it actually scaled and grew all of our businesses on the other side.
And I like you did it gradually. You're not saying, hey, you made $2 million, put $1.5 million into philanthropy, start at 10,000 and next year it's 15. It's one, the ability to give and do it, whatever you're comfortable with. But having the ability to do that at a gradual pace, how many kids were you able to get into sports?
I think it was close to like 400. So that check there was
Wow.
again, 300 $300 puts one kid through sports. So the $1,200 was 40 kids. And I think we did in our grand scheme of total of everything, I think it was around $100,000 total for what we were able to donate to Kids Sport Victoria and other charities. Again, it's like a little bit of optics of like, we did that, but we also supported some other charities. We put a bunch of money into our friends down in, they run a child sex trafficking orphanage. And so we supported them as well. So we were supporting kids, same kind of concept. $300 helped one kid for an entire month. So we just lumped it all into one. But I think we were able to help, in the grand scheme of things, around a few hundred children either get into sports or be taken care of down in our friend's orphanage.
Is giving a worldwide event?
It is 100%. I mean, like it is It is a global conversation. There's some stuff called the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. When you start getting into those, you start looking at globally what you can do. That's part of what we do in our consulting company is we go in and we actually talk to people about, hey, you want to donate to support children's literacy. That's great. To you, it might seem so small. You're just buying a few books for them, or maybe you're donating a little bit of money, or you're helping kids read. But on a huge global scale, when we talk about the Sustainable Development Goals, and what they are, I think there's like 17 of them. And what you impact when you actually do financial literacy is, I don't know them off the top of my head, but Sustainable Development Goal 4, where it's financial literacy or something like that. And so now you, combined with everybody else in the world, are collectively attaching to one of these SDGs. And you can actually start seeing the global impact of your small little efforts can have working with everybody together. So I do believe it's a complete global game.
I love that. And the mindset is anybody can do this. From the person selling Mary Kay at 20,000 a year, making 20,000 a year, to a multi-billion-dollar mega corporation.
100%. And it doesn't even need to be financial. In one of my companies now, my consulting company, for every 5 clients I work with, I volunteer donate my services to nonprofits. And that's because I was writing checks to nonprofits, but then watching them take all the money, go and put it into impact, because that's what they want to do. Nonprofits are servant hearts. They just love to serve. They don't really know how to run a business. But I give them all this money. They'd go help so many people, but then they wouldn't know where to get their next dollars from. And they wouldn't know how to hire people. And they didn't know how to put systems in their business. And I was like, well, instead of just giving you the money, instead of just giving you fish, what if I taught you how to fish? What if I just gave you the skill sets you needed? So now I donate, $10,000, $15,000 packages to nonprofits to go in and help them revamp their businesses. So now I'm just serving my time there, because at some point you realize more money isn't going to solve that nonprofit's problem. Getting them the right skills will, and that'll make a way bigger impact. So people can sit here and say like, oh, I don't make enough money to do it. Great. Well, go find a way that you can serve your time. Go find a way that you can serve volunteering. Hire people that maybe wouldn't be hired. We have a good friend that hires veterans, right, inside businesses. And so it's like, find ways to create new opportunities inside your business around impact. Share about it. Be proud about it, right? Talk about why you believe in it and how you're doing it in your business. And that is where you'll start finding true, pure joy inside operating your business every day. Because guys like you and I, Steve, when people invest in us or buy our products, we make good happen. And when we make good happen, we share about it with them. And then they want to come back and buy more. And they want to buy more. And they want to buy more. And that's how we build lifetime customers. And this is why the greedy capitalist is no longer going to survive in business. They're going to get put out of business, because people want to spend money on with companies that are making good or doing good in the world, because we actually care about the dollars we make, the clients we serve, and the people we help on the other end.
And this is all great. I'm 100% bought in, but people listening or watch this recording go, okay, show me some numbers. So let's get into the numbers here. He's going to share the screen, and I'm going to disappear, and you take over.
Yeah. So, these are just some statistics that I talk on all my talks, but this one here, where it's like consumers that are likely to switch brands to one that is associated with good cause, given similar price and quality, 89%. So Steve, when you and I are talking our products, we have similar products. We're selling podcast sponsorships, and I talk about the impact that I make, and you don't talk about the impact that you make. 89% of people are more interested in working with me or buying from me than you. So if I have that ability by doing more good, get this, I get to do good, which makes me feel better, and more people want to buy from me, which makes my business grow. Isn't that a win-win for me? That's where I want to be.
That number's 89%?
89%.
Oh, that's a large number. Keep going. This is great.
We keep going through that. And it's like, when companies support a social or environmental issue, millennials, which is one of the biggest buyer volumes right now in the States, 91% have a more positive image, 87% be more likely to trust a company, and 87% are more loyal to the company. And we start looking at millennial females, which is the next one. Oh, I don't have it here. Not millennial females in the middle here. 95%, 92%, and 91%. Steve, where do you ever see numbers in the 90% where you don't go, oh my God, I need to do that today? We go, yeah, that sounds like a really cool idea. This is the problem. People don't understand the power of what giving can do in your business right now. I'll just spit a few more of these off while I'm on a tangent. 71% of millennials will pay more for something if they know some profit goes to charity. 71% will pay more. Hey, Steve, do you want to make more money so you can do more good? Add some impact to your business. 80% of consumers are more likely to remember the name of a company with a strong purpose and 4.5 times more likely to recommend them. Hey, Steve, do you want people to remember your company name more? And do you want them to recommend you to their friends? All you have to do is become a good business owner and do what serves the world of adding some impact to your business, and you get those benefits from it. And I can attest to this because my neighbors had a heat pump company come and do some work on their house. Sasquatch heat pumps. Every heat pump we install, we plant 10 trees. Asking about any other heat pump company in my local area, couldn't even tell you their names. But I'll never, that was like over a year ago that they had their heat pump installed. And I still remember the name, Sasquatch heat pumps, 1 heat pump, 10 trees. So it just is like that. And when people ask me what heat pump company to use, that's what I recommend. This is a crazy one that brands that are viewed as making the world better earned an average of $9 more per customer over their competitors. They're charging more. This is another one. Consumers grow more loyal to brand when they believe it is for a good cause, which will increase lifetime profits as much as 85%. The loyalty that comes from customers that buy from companies that do good. Now, Steve, there's a huge caveat here. Huge caveat here. You need to be able to effectively communicate your impact. If you stand there and say, hey, if you buy this product, we're going to do some good. And then they buy that product and they never hear from you again. They never get an email talking about the impact they made. They never see you talk about it on your social media. They never see it anywhere. You will lose that customer because you lose the trust of that customer. But if they buy from you and you send them an email that says, hey, Steve, thank you so much for buying our product today. Because you chose Give Big Strategies as your consultant, we're able to go help one nonprofit grow their impact. And then they go to my social media and they see it's all about impact and they see what we do. So now we're congruently seeing that. Well, my lifetime value of my customers is going through the roof. So those are a few statistics that I just wanted to share. I can stop sharing screen now and, just really hammer that home.
Well, and that's powerful because it's a simple thing, a mindset of giving, whatever it may be. But I love the messaging part, like Sasquatch. I'm sure your friends bought it, and then they got an email, hey, you just planted 10 new trees, XYZ location. So follow up with what you're trying to deliver. Don't just 100%. Say, we saved the environment 50% on paper, but can't prove it or can't show it.
And that's the number one thing I get asked is, well, how do you separate the guy that's just doing it because they're marketing it to get more people through their business and the ones that actually care, right? That's probably the number one question I get asked. It comes through in your messaging. The people that I work with genuinely want to make an impact. They really care about doing good. They're like, hey, if I have the ability to make money on unlimited terms as an entrepreneur, I should be able to make the impact on the other side, right? That's just kind of a no-brainer for the people I work with. What that comes through in your messaging, when you talk about it that way, you're like me, you're fired up, you're passionate, you're excited, you're uplifted, you truly believe in helping kids get through sport because it means so much to me. When it's not, people can feel that instantly. They feel it in your messaging. They feel it in your website. They feel it in your branding. You don't send the follow-up emails. You don't genuinely care. But me, I'm out here taking photos of me going and serving kids in Mexico and me volunteering with my friends in Orange County and me, doing the work that I'm doing all over the place. And I share that saying, this is what my business has allowed me to do. How cool is that? And that's what's really been able to authentically come through compared to maybe others that aren't authentically doing it.
I'm rarely speechless, Randy. And every time I talk to you, I am, because it's just so practical. But again, it goes back to the mindset. And that's what you help with. We'll talk about in the second segment. So let's take a startup. Okay. They get a 250,000, infusion of cash. They're starting up. Is this the right time to be charitable, or do they wait till some profits come in?
It's so funny you asked that question. That's a question I ask every guest on my podcast. Do you believe businesses should start giving from the very start of their business, or ask if they've seen some success and had some money in the bank and can start doing something? And probably 80-20, 80% say you should start right away. 20% say you should wait, but they do it with a caveat. They say you should wait, but it should be in your business plan from day one. And the reason why is because maybe you're a solo startup and you just don't have the time to donate and you need the funds to really get off the ground. A lot of people believe that if your business can't survive, right, then there's no point in even adding the impact because you won't have a business. I understand that 100%. I believe you have to have it as a core value of your business from day one. You have to believe that you're going to do it, and you have to have a strategic plan. If you say, see the amount of people, I'm guilty of it, that say, I'm going to make this big impact and I'm going to donate these dollars. And if it doesn't have an SOP, if it doesn't get planned and it doesn't get built in, you're still going to be talking about it, but you're going to be out of integrity on the other side of it. So you need to make sure that it's an SOP built plan. And if you don't start it from the very beginning, you say at 6 months, when I have X amount of dollars, I am going to donate to this cause or whatever it looks like, or incorporate this philanthropy into my business at this point in time. I personally love it starting from the beginning, because there's no better way to talk about your business and brand than going to your friends and saying, hey, if you buy my product, I'm going to go do all this good, as opposed to, hey, buy my product, I'm new and I need some support, you know?
Or you add, hey, in 6 months I'll start giving because that's when I'm ready. People don't want to hear that because they know, I don't know the percentage. I would think it's more than 50% that don't do it because they're struggling. They're like, all the 250,000's gone, and all that. It looks like we have some questions here. So Janet Watson asked, talk about 2 force multipliers for good. That's Steve and Randy. Oh, she's talking. Well, thank you, Janet. That was a very, very nice comment. And Janet is awesome. I love Janet. Thank you. So, and the point too is that caught me off guard. It's such a great comment. If I have 250,000, I start from day one. I give $500 to my church. Let's just use that. Simple. Yep. My church. And then 500 the next month, or 500 that time. But the SOP, and what is SOP for people who don't know, and what does that mean with the business plan with this?
Yeah, the standard operating procedure. And the reason why that's so important, Steve, is I found that when we don't build the SOP, the standard operating procedure, it doesn't get done. But when we build it, it does get done, because it gives people that ability. It's like saying, I'm going to go run a marathon. And then you're like, cool, what's your plan? I don't know. I'm just going to run. Well, don't you think you should have a training plan and build your way up and get to that point? Yes. So we do it for fitness. We do it for nutrition. We do it for business. Why don't we do it for philanthropy? Because we don't prioritize it. But when we realize, when I look at all those statistics, how important it is to add, that's when I realized that if I start adding giving SOPs into businesses, we could really transform them. So that's actually what my consulting company does, is we create what we call a philanthropic playbook, where we build you the SOP in your organization so you don't have to think about it, because people don't know what to do. And I'll go quickly into a little tangent here around the 4 main reasons that stop people from giving in the first place. And the first one is their logistics. Is their system. So they don't know what type of initiative they should do. So they don't know if they should do 1 for 1, a percentage of, and then they don't know what charity to donate to. So they don't know what charity to donate to, and they don't know what initiative. So once we figure that out, then it's like, cool, we know how we're going to donate and where we're going to donate to. Then the second thing was they didn't know how to market it. So then they're like, we know what we're going to do and we know where we're going to donate, but then how do I talk about it? I'm not posting it on my social media. I don't want to sound like a used car salesman. I'm not, putting it on my website. I don't want to be braggadocious. Hey, I'm, from a faith-based religion where it says I'm not supposed to talk about the giving that I do without the other hand knowing, right? We debunk all of that, and we support them, and we teach them how to actually talk about it in a very sophisticated manner that allows them to drip the campaign out and be a part of their impact. So the second thing was marketing. The third was sales. After they marketed it, people were coming in and going, this is so great, I want to buy your product. And then they spend the entire sales call talking about their product and never talking about their impact. And people are like, wait, I was really attracted to you because of that thing that drew me in, that 89% attention grabber. And now I talk to you and you don't even talk about philanthropy? That doesn't make any sense. I want to hear about your impact. I want a human to human connection. That's why I loved the brand. I think that's honestly why philanthropy is so high right now, is because it's a human to human connection. People can relate to it. When I talk about kids in sport, I saw your face light up, Steve. You're like, yeah, this makes sense. I'm sure you've got 100 stories of kids in sports. Well, if I bring that in the sales call, you're like, yes, I love this. This is why I want to buy from this brand. So sales is third. And the fourth is execution. They don't know how to execute on their plan. And that's where that SOP comes in. is once we take all that, how do we put that into an execution plan so that you can't fail, so that it becomes systemized, that anybody can come into your business and look and see, oh, cool, here's the giving initiative, here's the charity, here's the marketing plan, here's the selling plan, here's all the long-term goals that we're going to create and what the achievements are that we could do. And this is how we're going to execute it fully through from top to bottom. I know it's a bit of a rant, but I want to go through those 4 things, or it explains why the SOP is so important.
Huge pillars, and they all have to be spot on or this doesn't work. And they go, oh, philanthropy doesn't work. I got no sales. I gave out $1 million and I got nothing. And you shouldn't care about that anyways. So what's interesting is you built a service business plan before the sale. I say all the time, we've talked about serve before you're selling. You're actually real life living that when working with business. That's amazing. So you take that obstacle of how to do it, going, come to Randy and we'll do it for you.
Yeah. One of the things that we found is most of the people we work with are busy entrepreneurs, busy visionary entrepreneurs, right? I don't spend a ton of time working with startups in the capacity that I'm in. It's pretty simple for their businesses. I typically work with companies that have, a pretty good foundation, have been in business for quite a few years. They're burnt out, they're exhausted, they want to make impact, they want to do good, but they're just so busy, they don't have time to do it. And so our tagline is the giving you always dreamed of without any of the work. And what we found is that a lot of these people are just like incredible entrepreneurs. They want to serve, they want to do good, they believe in doing the philanthropy. But when it comes in priority of their business, it just gets put down at the bottom because like me and you, Steve, like if you had to, a client that was upset about something, client always comes first. And then you have bills that you need to pay. So revenue always comes second, right? And then you need to manage your team. If there's internal fires, that comes third. And then maybe if there's some time, we can start working on some of the philanthropy down at the bottom.
Yeah,
when we actually start
cool.
When we start building this in, what we created is a service program that comes in and we bring philanthropy up to the top, but no different than you would hire a CFO to fix your finances. Because if your finances weren't in order, you just hire somebody because you don't have time for it. Or you want to build a marketing campaign and you don't have time for it, you'd hire a marketing person. We created something called a chief giving officer or a fractional chief giving officer, where we come in and we take care of all of the philanthropy, the whole thing, top to bottom for you, so that you get the giving that you always dreamed of without having to do any of the work, because everybody is too busy to do it. I hear it 100 times a day. I'm so busy. I would love to do this. I just don't have time. I literally had a guy send an email right before this call. He was like, Randy, I want to hire you 100%. We're just going to push it back to Q4 because we're so busy right now. And you can imagine what that email was. And essentially it's cool. So what you're saying is that impact actually really isn't important to you. Because if it was important, you'd understand that our job is to make it so that you have less work on your plate, but get to create the impact you always dreamed of. That's what I wanted to create in the world when I created my company. Was I want to stop people from making excuses. I want to give them the opportunity to create the impact they really wanted to have, but not have to add anything more onto their plate while they were doing it.
And you see these ROIs. I don't know why, and it's business. This is a big problem with business. Hey, pay me 7, I'll make you 100,000.
Yeah,
pay me 7. And no, I'm too busy for that. You're too busy to make $93,000 in a year. Sorry, it's and I was there at one time, so I understand, but that's why I love this, because it's not really hard. But let's take a break. I could go on. We got to take a break. We got to get a glass of water. I'm going to pull up their stream here. I'm going to go away for a second, and we'll be right back as we take a quick break. We'll see you in a bit. Welcome back, everybody. I'll bring Randy back in a minute, but Randy just blew you guys away. Build philanthropic in your business and grow. Why every business needs to incorporate philanthropy. I can never say that. I'll let him say that because it's a word. It's tough for me. I love doing it, just can't say the word. Randy, let's bring you back. That was one heck of a segment. I'm getting Colin Hirsch. Thanks for the shout out. People are going, what great insights you're giving. So I'm getting great responses from people. But one thing I was thinking about in the break is I'm giving. Do I need to give at home as well? Can this just transfer to my home life as well as my professional, excuse me?
Absolutely. This is like, so I speak quite often and I do a lot of talks, and I have a keynote talk, and inside my keynote talk, I'll share the story with your audience. But this is probably the number one thing that I hear from every audience that I speak at, that I get messages for after, or people comment me on, is this one thing, because it's so easy and it brings it into your household. So here's an example. My wife and I went out for dinner. We spent $100 and we were out there for 90 minutes, right? $100 bought us 90 minutes of happiness. That's great. That's amazing. But we haven't spoke about that dinner since. A few days later, we took that same $100 and we went and bought some donuts to go feed the homeless. Same $100, same 90 minutes. But our ROI on that time, our happiness ROI skyrocketed. That's something that my wife and I still talk about, and saying, remember that time we went and donated and hung out with all those homeless people and fed them donuts? How special was that? How memorable was that? So that's a memory I deposited in my bank. And I come up with this concept that for $100 a month, you can go buy yourself a happiness memory, right? So take your $100 and your 90 minutes once a month instead of going out for dinner, and go serve or make some sort of impact in the world. Right? Simple. Everyone can afford $100 right now, because I know everyone goes out for dinner. And I know everyone can afford 90 minutes because the same thing, everyone probably watches some sort of show a month, right? 90 minutes, $100 can go make an impact. But where it gets really cool is if any of your listeners have children, this is where I think it gets fun. I don't have children, so I haven't tested this, but I talked to a lot of people that have implemented this. They take that same 90 minutes and that same $100, but what they do is they include their kids in it now. And they might say to their kids, hey, little Johnny or Sally, we're going to donate $100 this month. It's something we do as a family every single month. Where would you like to donate $100 this month? And you let your kids' brain go wild. They haven't been changed. They're so creative. And they say, mom or daddy, I love trees. And you're like, great. And like, I want to donate to palm trees. And you're like, that makes no sense at all. And it's like, what a cool opportunity to go research and look up different charities that have something to do with palm trees and something in space. And then you start learning about what your kids believe in and where they want to put their impact and what inspires them. And you're teaching them these principles that we as a family give. And so now they do that every single month, the $100, and they pick the charity. And then you get the one day, Steve, where you're walking down the street and little Johnny or Sally tugs on your jacket and says, Mommy or Daddy, look at this homeless guy down there. He looks like he's hungry. Can we spend $100 this month going and getting this guy a cheeseburger and a blanket? What kind of humanity are we creating? Those are the ways that we're raising our children. That's what I truly believe in, and why this is such a powerful statement.
You've made me speechless twice. That's never happened in 62 years, but that's amazing, and lessons learned. And you can even take that further, like little Jody, go ahead. When you do your lemonade stand, you made $50 this week. Let's take half and teach them a lesson. Let's take half and buy a burger for a homeless person, or go to wherever, and 25 goes in your pocket. 8, 9, 10, 11. What a lesson are you teaching them?
It's incredible. And like I said, Steve, I literally still get messages all the time from people saying, like, that is the biggest thing that's changed their relationship with their kids. That's the cool thing, is like, philanthropy can be used in so many different ways, right? It can be raised for marketing and growing your business and buying yourself happiness. And it can be used for growing camaraderie in your family, for learning about that, for putting people together in this space and watching your family grow and become this really loving, incredible family that loves to serve and loves to do good. And there's stats. I haven't looked at the family stats around it, but in business, 93% of employees are happier with their employer when they volunteer. So let's just take that statistic and bring it over to your family household. Do you think your family is going to be more loving to each other or less loving to each other if you went and go and serve the homeless once a month? Probably more loving. So why wouldn't we want to add that into our life as part of who we are as humans? That this makes us happier and it makes our family closer. But we always say, oh, we don't have time for it. But we're still willing to go watch TV or do the things that don't make time. But these are things that can really define who we are as humans and how we raise our kids.
Well, you built a rabbit hole now. So let's talk employees. I didn't even think about that, but now I'm thinking,
Yeah.
got a company, 100 employees. I tell them, hey, let's say Sasquatch, this company.
Yep.
They have, I don't know how many employees, say they have 100, but they tell their employees, hey, every customer that buys one, we build 100 trees. How's that change the culture in the company?
I got two stories for this. I'm like you, Steve. I'm like a storyteller. Everything I do is based on a story around me.
Yeah.
So so one of my friends built a pool company in Texas, and they were out doing pool services. They cleaned pools. They provided lifeguarding services. They did a bunch of stuff. Anyways, and so they had a bunch of sales reps. And what they started doing is they started feeding kids in Texas with their stuff. And he said he walked into that sales room and said, guys, we are no longer chasing a quota of money. We're chasing a quota of impact. It's no longer how much money can we make. It's how many kids can we feed. And they started putting like hamburgers and stuff around or something like that. And that was how many kids they were feeding. Well, all of a sudden his sales team said, oh my God, I want to sell more to help more kids. But what came really crazy is when it became, if I don't hit my quota, I don't get to help those kids. And that changed everything for them. So now the whole team's working around impact as a crew of like, hey, our job is to feed these kids. And we do that by selling this product. Well, imagine how that changes the dynamic in your sales culture when you start talking about, hey, are you feeding kids today or are you not? And you're like, yeah, I got to feed some kids today. Like that's what it is. And the second story that goes into that is my good friend Marcus Collias. I'll give him a shout out. He created a really incredible supplement company. And inside there, he started talking about his culture of giving. And every Friday, I'll make an example up here that every Friday they would get together and talk about just like cool stories that happened throughout the week. And one guy shared a story about making some impact. He's like, oh, I went and volunteered or helped somebody. And everyone's like, that's really cool. And then next week, the next person came back and was like, yeah, I did this really cool thing too. And they started building this snowball effect of impact stories. But what it did is it started changing their reticular activating system, their RAS, their RAS. And what that means is like when you buy a blue car and then all of a sudden you see blue cars everywhere, you're like, I didn't realize there were so many blue cars. That's your reticular activating system. But when everyone in your workplace is talking about impact, when you leave work, what do? You're looking for impact. You're looking for stories. And he shares a story about how one of his employees was driving down the road and saw this old man walking down a slippery sidewalk and it slipped and fell and his groceries were everywhere. And he's like, normally I'd be like, oh, that sucks and drive by. And he's like, oh, this is a story that I want to share with my team of how I can help somebody. And he pulled over, helped the old man, grabbed his groceries, put him in his truck and drove him home. And he said it was the happiest moment of his entire week. And so he got to share that story with his team. And now that just became their culture. And that's how they redefined who they were. So now everyone in that staff room was talking about how they want to help and how they want to do more good in the world, as opposed to the video games they played or the things. And imagine what that can do for the culture of an organization. That's powerful.
Well, what a way to do competition. That's the best way to do competition. Yeah. Oh, you helped a guy. You know what I did? I walked a woman 2 miles to get to her car. Oh, you know what I did? I went to a homeless shelter and I fed 5,000. I could see it building on each other. And then, so when you jump into a sales call, what happens, I would assume, is in the back of my head is feeding those kids burgers. So Randy, by the way, we make this impact. And then you go on and on about the impact because it's embedded in my brain because the mindset has changed in the culture of the company.
That's it. We are redefining cultures inside companies by adding impact. And it's absolutely crazy. Like, see, I can't define it. It's like one of these intrinsic things. Like I don't have a ton of like proof of this. I mean, we've just been consulting for, 6 months now. And we've already seen a bunch of incredible statistics that have come through of companies that have sold more and done stuff. But it's one of these things that I'm look back in like 10 years. Like I'm going to be sitting there going like, I told all these people, right? This is just gonna be normal inside businesses because that's just the way the world's going. And I'm gonna sit there and say, like, we redefined capitalism. We redefined entrepreneurship by talking about philanthropy. Like, how crazy is that? That look at these cultures, look at these amazing places to go work. The top places to work are going to be places that allow you to go volunteer. Why not give your team one day off a month paid to go volunteer to create a happier work culture in your space? Why not incentivize your team that, if you're able to feed 50 extra kids this month than you had thought, that you'll buy them some burgers for themselves. It's like stop talking about money and start talking about the impact you can make, and it'll drive people in a whole different direction. There's so many stats out there that say when you do something for yourself in a selfish need, you will underperform if you were to do it on behalf of somebody else, right? So if I'm building my real estate company on behalf of putting children through sports, I will work harder than if I was doing it for my own personal greed. So we're also redefining our terms and our boundaries of how far we can push ourselves, because when we do it for somebody else and we know that if we don't do it, we're going to let them down, we often succeed. That's accountability. Well, when we add that in and say, hey, if you don't make your sales quota, you're not going to feed the 10 kids. And imagine Johnny sitting on the side of the street not eating today because you didn't know how to sell your product. It's like, I'm going to pound that freaking phone until I get that final sale. It's like, it's redefining the way cultures are done inside of the company. And people are going to comment on this and say, oh, you're just using giving to drive more money and you're doing more of this. Absolutely. We're finding ways to redefine the human possibility, and we treat philanthropy and giving as this secret that we're not supposed to talk about. But look what happened with financial literacy in our world when our parents, my parents, maybe people your age, didn't talk about their finances at all with their younger generation. I grew up not knowing anything. I didn't even know what credit cards were. My parents, were 55 years old before they found out their credit scores. Well, look what happens when we don't talk about it. So when we don't talk about the impact we make or the philanthropy we do, the same thing's going to happen. I think that's what we're starting to see with millennials now, is like, let's just openly talk about our giving. Let's talk about what we want to believe in. Let's talk about the causes we want to support and how we can make a bigger impact in the world.
This is as Hirsch and Janet, thank you for your comments. This is so powerful. Let me ask you this. As you were talking, the thought came to my head about rewarding giving in a culture of a company. Like you said, hey, let me pay you an extra hour so we all go out to a homeless shelter and feed them. You still in the philanthropic mindset, or are we pulling away from it a little bit?
In what context? I mean, I could answer that a few different ways, but I'll let you redefine it.
Yeah, just what you had said, which I thought was brilliant, said, hey, I'm going to pay you an extra hour.
Yep.
I'll pay you to go out and do this, philanthropic thing, this charitable thing. And let's say it's a soup kitchen.
Yep.
That still keeps the energy of the philanthropic strong, right? Even though 100%. You're rewarding them. Okay.
100%. And it encourages it. It grows it, right? As like, and again, people just want to feel loved and appreciated in your organization. Imagine you go to your team and say, look, I want you to be the happiest version of yourself. And I know that people that volunteer typically end up being a little bit happier. So today we're going to take a few hours at the end of the day. We as a team are going to go volunteer as a team building activity, and we're going to go serve. Well, that's going to make your employers happier. It's going to make them feel like they get treated like a responsible human. Like, yes, you've had a long week. Let's go serve. Let's make some impact. Let's re-energize. And I'm still going to pay you for it. It costs employers microscopical amounts of money to build culture that will 10x your revenues. So when we talk about that, it's still keeping the philanthropy in the culture, and it's still doing good. You are volunteering your dollars to put your team to go through and make the volunteering happen. But now people actually feel like they're a part of a team, and there's camaraderie and their bosses care, instead of saying, hey, we're going to go volunteer on Saturday morning and you need to skip your kid's soccer game to come. It's like, I don't want to miss my kid's soccer game. Why can't we go Friday at 2:00 when we're in work hours? Oh, well, because we need to be productive and we need to make money. Well, that's counterintuitive. What if we say, hey, we had a long week. I would love to send you guys all out to go do some volunteering, make a bigger impact, unwind, relax, and just remind ourselves why we're here on this planet, because we're just here to serve, right? What a difference that'll make in your culture.
And I knew the answer, and I'm glad I got clarified, because I knew that was the answer, because I could see people going, oh, I'm going to pay my employees to be philanthropic? Yes. Like you said, love on them, thank them. how important is the founder, CEO, president, that top dog to be there as well through these philanthropic events?
It leads from the top down, man.
Yeah.
I was just chatting with one of my clients today, and he runs a team, and he was just like, "Man, I didn't realize how impactful my actions were until I started doing some of this philanthropy and donating." When he said, "Hey, I'm going to go out and volunteer today," he had so many people from his organization step up and say, "I want to come with you," and he was like, "Whoa, that's kind of cool." And then now he got to relate to his employees on a different level than if he was in the workplace, right? When you're in the workplace, you're kind of like, you need to perform and you need to good, and employees are a little bit hesitant. But when you're out there volunteering, you're just two people serving the world. You're equals at that point. And
Yeah.
I'll pivot a little bit here and explain this in a different concept. But when I ran a mastermind last year, I took people that were 9-figure earners, right? 9-figure companies, and people that were just starting 6-figure companies. And we put them in a room together. And me and my partner were like, I don't know how this is going to work. Like, they're on very different levels of the business spectrum right now, where like if they get paired to do something, it might be a little bit weird. So we said, well, let's just try it, but let's lead with impact first. Let's take them all and go volunteer at a food bank where they're not allowed to talk about their businesses. They can only talk about the impact they want to make. So we took all of them down there and they spent 6 hours volunteering at this food bank. Nobody talked about how much money they earned or how big their businesses were. They talked about what causes they believe in and what impact they want to make. And we had 6-figure starters and 9-figure seasoned business veterans standing at the same table, sorting apples, talking with their lives, their families, their kids, their philanthropy, that never would have had any quote unquote business talking to each other in any other capacity. When we brought them back to our rooms, they now had a mutual respect for each other. They had a way to have conversation. And now that 9-figure earner's like, dude, I want to help you. I want to help you take that 6 to 7 figures because you're going to do so much good with it because I got to see you for the human you are. Whereas before, he'd be like, oh, just another person trying to pick my brain, right? So that's how we're able to use and or eliminate income disparity in the space that says we can take different income levels, put them together. That's that same thing with the CEO or founder going and volunteering with one of his new level green employees. In the world, it's like, I don't have time to talk to you. Go deal with your superior, right? Like the person you're in charge of. When we're out volunteering, we're just two dudes
Same plan.
having a good time talking. That's a huge, huge relation.
$1 million tips here. I mean, literally, companies getting millions of dollars with this, with just a little help from what you do. And I'm thinking too, so, companies have their yearly events and stuff. So during the day, we're going to go to a soup kitchen, and night we're going to celebrate. But not only going to celebrate our year in business or our 5 years in business, we're going to celebrate that philanthropic event we did.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
And it just pours and pours and pours. And so Steve, we talked a lot about philanthropy here, and people are probably wondering, like, wow, this seems overbearing to put into my business, and I have to go all philanthropic. 100% no. I don't want you to change your business. Adding philanthropy to your business is not your sales pitch. It is not how you sell your products. It is not everything about your business. It's a value add to your business. It is an enhancement to your business. It's finding ways that it fits into your culture, into your sales, into your products, into your business in the way that works for your business. You don't need to implement everything at once. You start with one thing. You start with saying, hey, we're going to donate from this product. We're going to donate $10 for everything that happens. And then you commit to it. And then you say, great, now we're going to take our team, we're going to go volunteer. And then you commit to it. And then you go to the next phase and then you do it. And then you go to the next phase and you slowly drip it in. It's like leadership. You don't just go into your team and say, okay, everyone, self-development's the new protocol and everyone's got to be on this. It's like, it just doesn't make sense. People are like, what is this? You can't do it with philanthropy either. But when you add it the right way and you drip it in, this is why coaches often want to be hired for a year when they work with these kind of leadership spaces, is because when you add philanthropy in over time, now you've changed the culture forever of your business. You don't just go in and drop it right away. So I don't want people to think like, wow, this is daunting and this is a lot, because we've talked a lot today. Find one little nugget and start it today and watch the transformation grow. When you start adding philanthropy in little piece by little piece, it just continues to stack and stack and stack and stack. And then you get the culture created that you always dreamed of.
And what I'm hearing, Randy, is we're changing the culture of the business. Very important. You got a good culture, you're going to grow. But now you've pushed it over to the customer. Your
Yes.
your customer culture changes. They stay
Totally.
longer, more referrals, introductions. They love your product. When there's a problem, oh, that's a philanthropic company. They do trees. Hey, you know what? I have a problem with this. I know the guy screwed up, but it's okay. Can you come have somebody fix it?
Yep.
That's powerful.
Very powerful. Yeah, it's ingrained in so many ways and it does so many amazing things, and I just can't wait to continue to spread the message out there of what this can actually do, because there's not a lot. It's Tom Shoes started it way back in the day, right? Blake Mycoskie, genius entrepreneur, and he went to Argentina and saw kids that didn't have shoes and said, you know what, if I sold pairs of shoes, I could go help these kids have them. Simple concept turned into a magnificent business. I'll put the asterisk beside it. Yes, a lot of challenges came from the good that he did, and they adapted the best they could. That being said, we're trying to just simplify this. We're trying to grow this. Consumers want this. This is where the markets are trending. I just showed you the statistics. If you don't start talking about these conversations, you're going to get left behind. And the thing I say, Steve, is in, 2015, if somebody said you're going to need a social media marketer on your team full time in order for you to market any of your products and sales and do all this kind of stuff, and you'd be like, social media, come on, get out of here. Like, that's just something fun I do on the side. And now it has to be a part of your business. Yeah. Philanthropy is that right now. It's like, oh yeah, it's kind of fun and I like enjoy doing it on the side or something like that. In 10 years from now, we're going to be sitting back going like, oh my God, we need a chief giving officer. We need to figure out how to do philanthropy. We need to figure out how we're volunteering. Like tech companies went through their pool table and ping pong table phase, businesses are going to go through their impact phase, where you won't be able to hire people if you don't talk about your impact. We didn't even get into hiring today and how my entire team left their cushy jobs to come work for an impact company. It is incredible in that space as well. But that's what we're going to start seeing as trends, is that this is going to be something that isn't just fun. It's going to be mandatory in your business for you to survive.
Randy, thank you so much. We go longer, but we can't. We've run out of time. Besides the website, is there any other way people can get a hold? You want them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, if you go to GoBigToGiveBig.com, it's a directory for everything we have. We have our consulting company there, our podcast there. We run a networking circle called the Impact Circle, which is people that want to talk more about the impact they want to make more than the income they earn. And we have just so many different things that we're doing. But the biggest thing that I ask your audience is just continue to spread the message of Go Big to Give Big, because we want to make the world a better place and we want to redefine what capitalism actually means.
I love it. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Thank you for the comments, Hirsch and Janet. Go give. Go big. Go give. Be a servant heart, and things will change for you. We'll see you next week, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, on Together We Serve.